It's BB and Mary, we know you have been waiting, so here's another podcast about movies. Burn after watching.
Welcome to the Burn After Watching podcast. I'm Borderland, and today we are joined by a special guest from the Balado podcast. If you are someone that loves Quebec film, you might have heard of this podcast. We are joined by Jeff. How you doing?
Hi, I am doing fine. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you for joining for this horror week in our horror month, which is like something I just put together to like force myself to watch horror film because I hate them. We had a few conversations about this.
Yeah, it really surprised me because normally you avoid those films, so that
100%.
takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it's really something that, like, I think I probably watched an horror film too young, too early. I think it was something called like the haunted house, on the haunted mansion on the hill or something like this. And I remember it was so scary. I was like, no way, I'm doing this. And I just now live life thinking that I don't like them, but I'm kind of getting into them now that I'm forcing myself to watch them. It's not that scary anymore. So maybe I'm just a new horror fan.
I had a kind of similar course. I avoided them a lot. In my youth, it was Gremlins, which is not that scary, but when I was like 6, 7 years old, it was it. And Chucky.
Oh,
And
okay.
I had such nightmares about those movies, even though I only saw like the box cover at the video store. And it took me like 20 years. It's in my 20s. I had a girlfriend who really loved horror pictures, and I started watching them. But I'm not like the super geek who have seen everything and knows all about pollen horror film or stuff like that. Not that much.
Yeah, like I have still not have seen Hereditary.
Yeah.
That sound like people are selling it to me like it's gonna traumatize me. I've seen Midsummer, I've seen Nope, but like those were pretty fine. So like I still have some that like I'm like The Conjuring. I haven't seen like there's some of them that I'm trying to like wait a bit more to get into.
Yeah. The theme for today is really good for me because possession and things like that. It's not my favorite taste. And home invasion, revenge, rape, things like that. I don't like that much.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna attempt to watch the two Funny Games, the original and the remake, this month. We'll see how that goes. I remember starting the original when I was in film school, and like was nope, no, thank you. But we'll see how that goes. This week we decided to go for monster horror, which is kind of more fun type of horror normally. One of my favorite monster horror is The Mist. I tried to convince you to watch this. I remember watching this when I was a teenager, and the ending was insane. Me and my friend were just like going crazy when we saw that for the first time. So I'll have to revisit it another time, but I'm happy with the pick because the two things that we decided to go for were on my watch list for a long time.
I think I know I've saw The Mist at cinema. I don't want to sound 1,000 years old, but yeah, I saw it at the time, and I remember the ending was polarizing. I don't know if you can say that. You love it or you hate it, but at that time, I don't know. I was maybe 18 years old, and I really digged it. I was into like Donnie Darko and things a little bit different and kind of audacious endings.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just love that like they took a risk and that the movie itself is not super scary, but like that was kind of scary on a different level. It's not just like jump scare and monster or like something. It's just like human psychology scary, which is kind of like I guess what I prefer. But monster horror is just a lot of fun. And the first film we picked, The Relic by Peter Hyams, I think that's how you say it. I actually haven't seen any of his film except this one.
Yeah, and a lot of film actually, and I discovered it while doing my research too. Yeah, like some Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, and he directed the follow-up to 2001: Space Odyssey, which I heard was just okay, but I'm probably going to check it out eventually. So don't know him very much. I actually learned about this movie listening to the Quentin Tarantino podcast. He
Okay.
mentioned this film as a film that he really liked, and that the sequences in the museum, he had like just a lot to say about like how it was filmed. And it's been a while, so I'm probably going to try to find that episode and go watch it now that I've seen the film. But you told me that you've seen this film before, so I want to kind of hear, going into it, revisiting it, what were you remembering, what were you expecting?
I did. I think I never saw it like full from start to end.
Okay.
It used to be shown on television when I was like 10, 12 years old, with probably his other movies like Sudden Death and The 6 Days with Schwarzenegger. And so I remember the ending. We'll come to that later, and kind of the monster. But I was expecting such a bad movie that I end up getting really surprised that it's actually quite good and still holds up, I think.
100%. I was also surprised. Like, end of the 90s, it's normally still a good mix between practical, and they were playing with CGI, and you can see here like there's some time where they did CGI that it's really showing, but I think it like is holds up. Like, it's pretty solid. I had a good time. Like, it's not scary at all, but and I felt like it's very much a product of its time, in the sense that it's getting a lot of inspiration to me from Jurassic Park and Aliens.
Yeah.
And I just saw Aliens, like all the Aliens, for the first time this year. So it felt like having the strong woman characters, like going through the tunnel in the basement of the museums. She has like those kind of like woman empowerment line into it as well. I really thought like it was a nice mix between the two. And Jurassic Park, like the museum aspect and all this, and like the science and the culture, like I just think it was pretty solid overall.
Yeah, it came to me right now that I don't know if it was a trend in the 90s, but there was also a movie with like eating man, a lion eating man with Val Kilmer and I remember Morgan Freeman, I think. And I don't know if it was a thing to have like Lake Placid and giant animals, where here it's not that much an animal, more like a strange monster from Weird Evolution or things like that.
Yeah, I guess, spoiler, right? It's supposed to be a mix between a human and like some kind of like lizard, and then there's the whole, actually like the whole science stuff in this film like totally lost me. At some point I was like, I'm not 100% sure what's happening on the science side. Like, I understand like the original scientist that went and grabbed the artifact, which I still not 100% sure if what the artifact had to do with anything. Like, was it actually having some power? Like, there's the whole superstition aspect of it with the detective that is superstitious, and then the museum, and then you have the beetles that eat this kind of like leaf mushroom things that like make them grow. Like, there's a protein in there or whatever. And I was like it's feeling very complicated. I'm not sure if it's like some kind of like, like curse that like is making this guy becoming a lizard rat giant monster, or it's just, like, I don't know. For me, it was just, okay, like, whatever. It's just going to be a fun time. And it delivered on that sense. It felt like very complicated to me. I don't know if you got more than me on that.
Oh no, and it's kind of silly that it's like an archaeologist or an historian that has all that technology and computers that can solve
Yeah.
the number, the quantity of protein in a plant and things like that. And yeah, I'm not sure that should do that, but I know. I love some of the like predictable things, like the other architect or historian who want to get funded and is really cocky, and he's gonna die in the end. Something terrible is gonna happen to him eventually, and it's cheesy, but it's kind of well written if you're on with that.
Yeah, I think overall, like, I mean, it's not reinventing kind of like anything, but it's just a good time. Like, I think the last act gets a more and more actiony than like scary, and I wouldn't say it's very scary anytime. Like, there's a few moments of like trills. I don't know. Like I just had a good time. I think the like it's very like the ambiance is really nice. The music was really good. I really was impressed with how they slowly reveal the creature. I think at the end, especially with the fire in the kind of like lab, they went a bit too much where like we were seeing it a lot, and because of the fire CGI, it was not great. Like the first hour, you only see like flashes of him, and it's like really like it still holds up. Like it worked for me.
Yeah, like the first time you see like the only not the end, but the paw, I don't know,
Yeah.
dragging the man on the toilet, and it was oh yeah, some practical effect. Because I remembered a lot of CG for the end.
Hmm.
It's not perfect because it's like a 30-year-old movie, but it's quite impressive. Still, I didn't know you could do that in '96. It's a '97 movie.
97, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and the best scene I think it's when they're in the sewers with the flashlights. I think it's well edited and shot, and it's a good tension, like thrilling scene. But yeah, it's more horror for like children.
Yeah.
You see the autopsy from the first death of the black security guard, and it's kind of cheap, you know. And they want to do say right now. I don't know if you saw The Substance yet or no, and
No, I
you get
haven't.
a lot of close up and body, or it's not like the people losing their heads, but still you got a nice quality there. It's really plastic, but they still put a close up shot, and the guy Tom Sizemore being a little disgusted by that, but it's pretty fake.
No, and it was kind of cool the way they designed the monster, because like the whole principle is that he's supposed to like be cutting people's heads so he can get to a specific part of the brain, I guess, because that has
Yeah.
the protein he's looking for. And his teeth design is kind of made in a way where he can kind of like wrap his teeth around the shoulder and the head, and then basically like behead people and like just opening his jaw. And I thought
Hmm.
like I also thought it got pretty graphic for like a movie. I was not expecting it that like I was expecting maybe, I mean, I was not expecting like a Jurassic Park type film, but I was not expecting it to be like so gory, I guess, because it felt a bit more family friendly. I want to say it's not family friendly, but like more like 13, PG-13, something like that.
Yeah.
And it gets gory, like it gets pretty violent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you thought it would be like off-screen death
Hmm.
only, but yeah, they go all in for the probably age limit. Still, there's not a lot of blood compared to
No.
the other one we'll talk about.
Yeah. And I really like the scene too with the two policemen that goes into the basement. Um, like it's pretty like tense, and then they kind of find like a homeless guy living in there.
Yeah.
To me, like it was nice because I was not expecting it to be that, and they do a few things with the basement that are interesting, that keep you on your toes as well. The whole superstition angle, it was kind of nice to like build the character and like do like a little bit more depth to the character. It didn't end up doing much, but it was nice kind of tying into the team of the museum and their own like exhibit on this, which looks so silly with like all the ladder and everything. But it was also oh god, it just reminded me like the when the fire, is it like a fire that broke out or something, that like the alarm goes off, and then
Uh, yeah, at the end, near the end,
yeah, during the
or
exhibit, and then people just start basically running out of the museum,
yeah, I
and
can.
it's chaos, and like it gets pretty violent. Like people stumble, like step on top of each other. That was like a crazy scene. Like I really like that scene where like they're trying to escape the museum, and like the large fireproof door kind of like closing
Yeah,
in.
but I'm not sure a museum has, but
No, I'm not sure either.
but yeah, I thought at that point that someone might get crushed under the guy sliding on his belly to put a
Yep.
chair. I was sure like his head would splash or something like that, but no.
It reminded me of that scene in I don't know if you've seen Snake on a Plane. I remember seeing that when it was coming out, and there's like a panic moment where like this guy like step on another guy's head, and like they show you like the dead just exploding like in a way that like make no sense. But like I was almost expecting that, and like I don't know, like it was just like a fun scene. Like it was kind of ridiculous how people like panic out of
Yeah,
nowhere,
yeah.
but it was a good time.
Yeah, and last detail, they talk a lot about dogs. It starts with the detective saying that he lost custody of his dog with his divorce,
Yeah.
and then not that much later, he say, "Yeah, send in the dogs." And there were dogs in the sewer with the police. It's because he talks about his loss of his dog,
Yeah.
and I think about I don't know, I would say in English, la carabine de Chekhov. Là. Kind of, they talk about the
Just
normal rule where you see something early in a movie, it's gonna come back later. So I always get that in the back of my head, like, oh, maybe something with a dog will came up, and not necessarily, but they use like dog with the police and things like that. So there's a lot of dog talks in the movie.
yeah, that's true. It's a solid film. I would recommend it to someone if you want to have like a silly kind of like horror night.
It's a good starter for something sweet, maybe to start an evening of horror movies.
Yeah, I don't
But
think it's like so bad it's good. Like it's not laughable in that way, but it's a good time.
yeah, probably it it holds up for the 90s. So I don't have a list right now, but maybe in that genre, you can have that one in maybe a top 10, top 15 that holds up. Yeah, and like you, I only saw Sudden Death, the movie with the Jean-Claude Van Damme at the Pittsburgh Penguins game with the bomb and things. So in his filmography, I forgot the name of the director, Peter Hyam,
Heim,
something
yeah,
like
I
that.
am, yeah.
Heim. I don't know where it sorts in his where it's ranked in his filmography, because he's done like 20 or something movies.
Yeah, 22. I'm surprised that I haven't seen anything. Like I've heard of 2010, some of those films, but
Do you still officially burn or save movies?
yeah. So let's do that.
Okay.
I gave it a three
I haven't
star.
I haven't thought I haven't thought about it actually. So
So I gave it a 3 star out of 5. I think you did the
okay.
same, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a way of rating a movie, but not really committed. It's kind of the off point, I think. It could be 2.5, but for me, 3 is like, it's okay.
It's kind of like on the line. Like 2.5 for me, it's like you can skip it. So like for me, I would give it a save. I think it's a good time. It's not a waste of time to watch it.
It's a save, but it's not like go watch that right now. You should be watching it by the end of the month or thing like that. But don't avoid it if it came like on 2B or things like that
Yeah.
for an easy Friday night.
Let's get into The Descent, which I think it was your suggestion, was it?
Yeah, when we were talking about doing the pod, I was looking for monster movies, maybe that I haven't seen or seen a long time ago, or what are the not the necessarily the good ones, but the one people talked about. And I remember seeing it at the television, but maybe same thing, only half of the movie or thing like that, but much later, because it was 2005, I think.
Yes, 2005.
Yeah, The Descent. It's a
Yes.
movie that I don't know about you, but I used to heard people talk a lot about that movie and its originality. It was really a good one when in those years.
Yeah, so all I knew about this film is that I remember my uncle had shown the DVD cover to someone, and it's like the five girl like going down, and it's forming the shape of a skull.
Yeah.
Like the DVD cover, and telling, I think maybe my dad or someone else, not me directly, this is scary AF. Like this is terrifying. And from there, I was like, that's it. Like I will just forget this film exists. Uh, I am highly claustrophobic. I hate, I don't know if you like scroll Instagram sometime and you see those video of people going caving, and then like they're gonna have like a hole just enough, to like fit their body through, and it's so tight. Like I can't watch those. I have to like swipe away. I have to close my phone. It like triggers me. So like right away, I was very scared. This was the film I was the most scared about of all the film I had to watch. this month.
Eh, but it's a really good point because midway through my viewing, I had that thought. I thought that the monsters would show up really
Hmm.
earlier in the movie, but they didn't. And I think the real scare in that shit is the claustrophobic idea where they're stuck. They still go on. One has a panic attack at some times,
Hmm.
and when you go out of that little hole, like you say, and you're just still in the open cavern. You're not out of that
No.
yet. It's just okay. Some more hair. Put some red flares. We're gonna see what's here. But you're still lost and deep, and yeah, that's really the scariest part of the movie and the adventure. I think.
I agree. So basically, this is a story of I think 5 or 6 girl that go explore a cave, and at the beginning we learned that basically one of the girl lose her husband and our daughter in like a car accident, and there's like a hint that also one of our friend might have a thing with her husband. So that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hinted at the beginning, and then year later, they kind of regroup as friend and they do like another of those adventure again together, and they going caving. But basically, one of the friends said that they would go into cave into like this basically like super easy, well known, well documented cave, and instead they bring them to a totally different one that nobody has ever been. It's not even named. But they learn that once they are like well into it, way too late to learn that information. And I have to agree that like the first 30 minutes of this film is like the point where she gets stuck in that tiny tunnel was the most scary moment for me. Like when there's like a earthquake or something and they start cracking and falling, like just the heart wrench. Like the entire movie should have been that to me. Like it would have been a lot more effective. And we could talk about like the last half hour after, but like to me, like that half hour is just so strong, so scary. Like they really set the mood. I thought some of the character were kind of like simple or a bit annoying, and like you're gonna need some of that. And the beginning cabin portion is very 2000 the way it's filmed. It's not really pretty. It's like a lot of 2000 film are like overblown, like the white are super white, and it just like feel really cheap, like digital cheap, early 2000 film, and that's the vibe I had until they go into the cave.
Yeah, and it's a British film. It's not an
Really? Oh.
American film. Yeah, yeah. And actually, we'll talk later about it. But there's an alternate ending for the U. You probably saw the U.S. version too, because it's the most
uh
common. But the original British film is different, much more darker, actually.
oh, interesting. Yeah, let's talk. I rented it on Apple TV, so I don't know which version. I assume it's the US version.
But do you want to go deep in spoilers right
Let's
now,
yeah,
or
let's do it. So
I can jump to the end,
go for it.
just say about it in case I forget. So the American ending is the main girl getting out, going in the pickup truck, and leaving the site, which is kind of a wink to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I don't know if you saw. It's a
I haven't
classic,
seen. I haven't seen
kind
it
of
yet.
disgusting movie, and there's a girl at the end in panic going out. It's not an happy ending.
Hmm.
One of the gang goes out, but it's gonna have a lot of stress after that.
Yeah.
And the original ending is just at the end, just before she walks in the pile of bones. Um, she saw another vision of her daughter with the birthday cake, and the daughter says something like "Happy birthday, mommy" or a thing like that, and it ends. So you just assume that she just has killed the girl, and she's probably lost and gonna die in the cave.
Mm.
And when American bought the movie to show it in America, they wanted to use another ending. I don't know if it was already shot so they could do a different editing, or if they reshot to do the ending. I don't know that, but it was the way American wanted to promote the movie, let's say, to show the movie. And that's why there's the Descent 2 that was made after that I did not see, but they used the survival girl.
Okay, interesting. I don't know which one I like the more here. Like the ambiguous is interesting, but at the same time, it could be like I guess interpreted as darker. But for me, like the whole like birthday cake like flash didn't add too much to
No,
the whole
because
thing.
it was a little stupid every time it came in the movie. I know, like you said, we start with the trauma girl, the girl
Yeah.
we follow, and I got all of those kind of mixed up. So it's
Oh
dark. They're
yeah.
covered in blood. They're really generic friends because there's not like three friends. There's six. So it's really a lot for an hour and a half movie. And but most of them and all of them will die. So it's in the end, it's
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, and the trauma, it's kind of to build a more deep character with
Mm.
things, and you want to root for her. But it really bugged me. In some movies, it's okay, but in that one, I didn't see the purpose to do that. It's I think it's more to start the movie with a death scene, with something
Yeah.
shocking, and there's a lot of jump scares in the movie too when they look at windows and things like that to start the rhythm, I think.
Yes, I agree. I like there was a lot of jump scare. Like the first time the first time, the second time we see the creature, I guess. So to like go into the last hour, I guess they eventually kind of get lost in the cave system, and the girl with the trauma, which was on medication, and she stopped taking medication, or she lose them because they were in the bag that she lost, is the one that see the creature for the first time. And I think like
Okay.
because of the trauma and everything, like they don't believe her immediately, which I think is fair. And eventually they are in pitch black, and one of them has a camera that apparently can go into like not X-ray, like what do you call that?
Night vision,
Night vision, and
night
it's
vision mode.
amazing
Yeah.
technology for the 2000 to have like a home camera that can go night vision like that. But apparently it go night vision even in the
But
total
I think,
dark.
yeah, but I remember, I think maybe it's not as good as what's shown, but I remember friends having those
Oh
uh,
yeah.
mini DV camera with on little tapes, and started the numeric era
Mm-hmm.
slowly. And I think some have those modes, but kind of never use it. It's like in the actually what you saw with Dan.
Blair Witch.
Blair Witch, yeah, it's oh no, it's just the light of the camera. It's not the
Yeah.
night
I don't
mode.
think
Yeah, yeah, when she's closed up with the camera rolled over. Maybe in Quarantine, it was like a Spanish
I heard of it.
zombie movie, which was a remake in the US too. Yeah, I know. It's probably we have a really better image that was really at that time, but I think it was a feature that you could have on a camera.
Yeah, so like
Anyway.
to me like it felt like all right, like it's convenient. Anyway, like that moment when they like scanning the place that they are in, and you see all the friends' faces, and then suddenly there's a noise and they turn, and then at first it looked like we just looking at a friend, but right behind the monster is there, and it's really quick. That to me was so efficient, so good. It didn't feel cheap, like a jump scare that like was just there. There was no, I don't remember a loud noise that came with it. Like there was a scream that came with it, but it felt more like organic. And to me, that was just so well executed. That's the only time that the monster was scary to me, to be honest. After that, it gets so like crazy, like messed up, like the attacks and like the fighting and the it gets so over the top that it's almost laughable.
Yeah, the blood river, kind of blood lake
That
where
was kind of cool
she
though.
goes deep. Yeah, yeah. It's a little like Apocalypse Now, or
Hmm.
even the Predator when he hides in the
Yeah.
mud. Yeah, yeah. They go really all in, and yeah, you know, you're right. It's a bit confused because each girl, they got split up, goes everywhere, and at some point we think there's only one creature until we see there's a lot. Yeah, yeah. And what do you think about the kind of the friendly fire, the kill by accident with the ice pick?
Like I didn't mind it. I didn't think it was like weird. I like how it end up basically like she has a necklace of the friend, so then the other friend can believe the story, and then it kind of like end up being the way that she learned that her friend was cheating with the fiance. Like it feels a bit unnecessary overall to have this. Like they already are getting taken out left and right. You don't really need like also like they barely surviving. They are in the dark in a cave with monster just attacking them left. Like you don't need more drama or conflict in the film to like get us to care about them coming out. But I didn't mind it. Like I mean I think it was kind of like the scene where the friend find the wooden friend and like she's like just take me out, like don't let me here to like be hidden. Like that worked for me. Like I liked it overall, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the girl killing the other by accident, I like that because it's a harder step, and you don't want to say it and things like that. But when she gets revenge at the end, I thought it was a little forced because
Yeah.
she didn't have she could not explain that it was an accident. She didn't have the chance to do that. But there's more about the backstory. But it's a little hard, and it adds to the fact that the ending where she survives at the end, it's more a weight in her baggage in a way.
Yeah, it feels overall like overly dramatic, that part, but I can excuse it. I also really like when the two sisters, right, one of them end up trying to cross kind of like this portion where she has to like climb on the ceiling, and one of those weird bat boy kind of jump on her, and she end up dying, kind of like pending, like just I guess like attached by the harness. I don't know if she cut her own throat or like the monster cut her throat, but she's just like
No, it's the
dying.
monster that cuts her throat. Yeah.
And like the imagery of that, like that was cool. Like that was a cool kill. Like some of them like are just kind of like a bit basic, and you only have six characters, so you can't just also like go super crazy. Like you have to kind of take them out one at a time, and you have to kind of spare them in a way to like make the movie, because like at that point we are like well into like an hour in, and like to me like it felt like it took a long time for the monster to came, which I didn't mind, because I think the original 30 minutes was really strong. And then like it started wrapping up super fast. Like once like you down to the two, it's like the story is like, okay, let's go. Like we need to close this. We have 10 minutes. And then like it felt really rushed to me. Like the last 10 minutes, like you have two characters that have all this drama that you build up over the entire film. And like you said, like it's basically just like, well, you're dead, boom, and then I'm leaving. And it just felt so rushed. Like I was looking at the time, I was like, man, they're gonna wrap a lot of stuff in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could have used like a way, because they at some point they learned that the creatures are blind. They only use the sound to catch their prey. So they could have like stay quiet for, I don't know, a day or thing like that, and you see a lot of time goes by, but it seems like couple of minutes, maybe not that much. And at some point it's strange because the creatures get really good at fighting. Like the first they can kill. They're two girls. One takes him by behind, and the other use the axe or thing like that. And at the end, you see kind of an alpha beast or thing like that, and the main girl tries to fight with it, and the creature like dodge the axe swing. As how can it do that? Because you don't see it. You kind of hear, I don't know, the blade in the wind, or just to add a fight scene or thing like that. But less realistic with what they set up to be the characteristic of the monster.
Yeah, and I just think like because like they were probably in that cave for like what 6-8 hours. Like they were barely in there. Like it like the time pass is either poorly kind of like executed. Like it's hard to tell how long they are in there. So like even like as soon as they are in the cave, they take like a break and they have lunch. It's like it feels like they really kind of like try to like make you feel like time is passing. But it didn't feel like this at all. And yeah, like The blood like moment was really cool. Kind of like I haven't seen Carrie, but I've seen like the images.
Yeah.
So like it reminded me of that as well. I think that was cool. There's a lot of really cool moment, and I think like overall, I would say like it's a good film. Like I was surprised how much I liked it, considering that like I was really really like putting it off. I didn't want to watch it for a long time. I waited like the longest possible time to watch it, and I watched it with Mary, and she also like enjoyed it. Like she was like, yeah, you know, it was not that bad. Like it gets really silly, but it was not actually a terrible horror film. Like I think it kind of respects its audience. It's not. It has some jump scare, and it's some of them are cheapish, but like not outrageous to me. And that's the kind of film that I think I could kind of like Project Blair Witch Project. I could see myself rewatching. I think it's good enough for that.
Yeah, and maybe in your journey, that's what you will realize. Is much of them some of them are really like disgusting and torture and things like that. But overall, we're adults. You can handle most of them, so it gets fun in a way. And now I'm waiting for some of them to show in cinema and watch a new horror film. And I had an idea about the descent, but I forgot maybe with something you just said, but it got out of my head.
About Carrie or the time passing or
Oh yeah, okay. It's yeah, it's the fact that when in the movie monsters appear really late
yeah.
in later than we thought. So and in a way, that's why the movie is good, I think, because if there were monster straight from the beginning, maybe it would look like many other monster movie or and it's the same way as From Dusk Till Dawn in a
Oh,
way. If the from Tarantino, written by Tarantino and
Rodriguez, right?
directed by Rodriguez. Yeah, you have you ever saw the movie? Okay.
No.
It's something like that. You go for a first story, more thriller about with the Tarantino and Clooney, their character brothers doing sketchy things, and in midpoint, shit hits the fan. Something came up, which I won't spoil, so you can enjoy the movie. But it's like on a 2 level, and in the same way you see here, in a way, like it's just people lost in caverns, and now there's monster, and it's not the movie you thought you were gonna see. But maybe in the cavern they were advertising it. I don't know at the time what was the trailer for the movie.
I don't know. Yeah, like I also like that they didn't like try to explain what they were too much, right? Like I feel like a lesser film, they would have found a book that would have like have like a bunch of like you know, origin story about the monster. Like I in my head, what I like to believe is that all the sign of like early exploring, like they find like this harness and they say, oh, this looks like 100 years old, nobody used this anymore. Like I like to believe that like someone got lost in there 100 years ago and evolved, like as a human that evolved into like this creature, and like they just, because they live in the dark, they like had to like over generation and like self, you know, like like just a bunch of like people making love to each other like to eternity, and like making weird babies that like adapt to their environment and become like monstrous. And like you have the deer at the beginning, also carcass, right? Where like could that be them coming out at night and like, you know, killing animals and bring the bones? And like I like that I was able to kind of figure out like what the story of those weird thing was for myself.
And I don't want to spoil all the movies I can, but that idea, that pitch of people weird doing babies and getting weirder, is kind of the idea of the Hills of Eyes,
Oh, okay.
which is an older movie, and Alexandre Aja made a remake about the same year, 2006, I think. And yeah, maybe that's another classic monster movies to add to the list.
I'll have to check that out. All right, I'm gonna give The Descent a 3 star. I think it's good. I could see myself like elevating to 3.5 if I rewatch it, because it's closer to a 3.5. It's a lot better than the Relic to me, but I had a good time with both, and I think it's a safe.
Yeah, it's a safe too, and I'll be curious to see, like in 10 or 20 years, if the young still talks about The Descent and watch it like a classic, like we watch Nightmare on Elm Street and things like that. I know it's not a franchise with the 11 movies, but it's kind of still recent in movie history, a 20 years old movie, or if it's gonna be like so much forgotten that we never saw it, or maybe there'll be a remake in 10
Probably,
years with
yeah. That's
new
the
facers and TikTokers. I don't know.
that's the more likely one, like I think to happen. Is it what did you give it?
I think it's a 3-2. I haven't. Yeah, I gave it a 3.5, so it's definitely a save for me for the vibe and more about the claustrophobic
Yeah.
scenes, the caves, the when everything went wrong, when they lost their equipment and things like that, and some of the girls hating each other. So it's a lot of the tension really comes from here in the movie. The monster are just like the cherry on the top, I think.
Awesome. Thank you for making me discover this. Thank you for being here this week. Go check out MonCiné Balado if you want to. You have to speak French. You have to be listening in French. But if you want to learn
Yes.
more about Quebec cinema. And yeah, thank you again.
My pleasure.
Have a good one, everyone.